What's going on? EJ here, coming to you live from my toddler son's bedroom. And I just, I think I need to just get some things out. So that's what we're going to do while I am separating and putting his laundry away. So I decided earlier this year that this was the last year I was going to be an entrepreneur. Let me tell you why. So the first time I was officially an entrepreneur, I was designing. I was a graphic designer. I was a graphic designer because it was something that I had just picked up and was doing and was good at. And so I had a bunch of people that asked me if I could design business cards for them. Now, mind you, this was back in ooh 2010, 2009. Does that make sense? Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. About 2009, because it was shortly, it was somewhere between like shortly before my oldest was born and like shortly after. So let's just say 2009. Back in 2009, um, we obviously, people didn't market in the ways that they do now. Business cards were still very, very, what is that? Lord. Very, very popular. Not saying they're not popular now, but that we have a lot of things that we didn't have then, like the um, QR codes and electronic business cards. We didn't have that. So I was designing business cards for people. And then after that, a couple years after that, in 2012, I went back to school, and got certified to be a front end web developer. Funny enough, I was telling actually a potential client the other day, you know, most website designers are also graphic designer of sorts because if you do the full spectrum of web design like I do, you are still designing graphically. So it made sense. I did it and everything like that. So then the first time I officially had a business, it was called Envisions by Erica. And that's what mainly I was doing. It was web design and graphic design. And that was 2012. So it is 2024. So it has been 12 years officially. Like I said, I was doing some things before, but 12 years since I started the first version of my company. My company went through a few different phases. That was the first one. Um, there were a lot of lessons that I learned about myself, about that is my husband, about myself, about my talents, about my abilities, about who I do and don't necessarily want to work with, who my main audience is, who I mainly want to help. Um, and I also simultaneously at the same time was going through so much personally that my business was literally keeping me alive. I'm very motivated by tasks and goals. That's just the type A person that I am. And so no matter what literal hell was going through my life or going on in my life, happening to me, um, I would just pour everything into my business. Um, so that's what I did. So it steady became a thing where I would just continuously get interested in another aspect of essentially visual communications, and I didn't know that's what that was, or that's what I was doing at the time. But because then it branched off into photography, then it branched off into videography, and literally went from there. Um, and so I am self-taught the majority of the things that I learned how to do. I was self-taught. So I taught myself trial and error, trying things, everything like that. I've done things from event recaps for festivals to I've even done a couple of weddings. Figured out I don't like doing weddings, so I only did a couple. Um, I've done like the talking head videos. I've done curriculum type videos for like online learning, online instruction, um, documentaries, short films, social media videos, online classes, things like that. So, but then through all that, I was realizing that I liked teaching people how to do all those things themselves, especially specifically entrepreneurs, because a lot of the time the budget isn't there to get to hire, you know, a large scale production company, and so you have to figure out how to do it on your own, usually with just your phone. And I just it warmed my heart so much to show, especially specifically women. So my target audience are women and femmes who are mainly of minority backgrounds who are also entrepreneurs and small business owners. And it just warmed my heart so much to show them how to create this great content by themselves, because a lot of them just didn't have the confidence to do it. And so when I really tapped into that, I started doing more workshops. A couple years ago, I think at this point, probably like 5, 6 years ago, I had a studio downtown for a couple of years, and I called them brunches. They had a couple different names, but essentially they were brunches. Women and femmes of all backgrounds, but I really was making sure I was reaching those of minority backgrounds. Would come to the studio. We would have tables and chairs. They would network for a little bit, have food. Sometimes I cooked. Sometimes I catered in from another small business in the area, depending on what the budget was looking like at that point. And taught them something. I also incorporated some website design things as well, and and that was that. And it was really great for the time that I had it. I did give up my studio because I had a hard pregnancy with my youngest. That's how I know it was like 5 years ago, maybe 6, because he will be 5 this year. Really hard pregnancy, and like almost from jump. And so I was like, I can't do this anymore. It hurt to work. At that point, I was working. I had a full-time job, and I was doing videography. And I could barely do my day job. And so I hated to give it up, but I had to because I couldn't work. And so then I couldn't pay the rent. And so gave that up. And then he was right before the pandemic. He was born in 2019, the end of 2019. And then, y'all know, a couple months later, it was what it was, right? So how that all relates to my decision of not wanting to be an entrepreneur anymore is because I think because it was the thing that kept me going in the midst of the hell and the mistreatment that I was going through for such an extended period of time, that it's not a healthy thing for me anymore. If that makes sense. So I know I don't want to be an entrepreneur, but I still want to help people, right? I still want to teach. I love being able to do workshops and show people how to do this stuff, but I have no desire to do this like this is what I do, right? There's even doing it on the site. So I'm navigating that space right now. So I've done stuff like I started a Substack. I actually heard about it a couple weeks ago for one of my favorite podcasters. Looked into it. It seems like a place where I can just like host and hold all of the different lessons that I've done, any lessons that I would like to do in the future. I mean, I have website clients right now. Because one, I'm always going to help people. And then the little bit of income that I charge does help, right? It helps with just life in general, right? So, but it's nothing that I'm going to pursue full time. I don't even think if it's going to be something that I pursue part time. I'm making some strides. Hold on, we need to shift because I need to put this stuff away before I lose my motivation to do this. Hold on. So yeah, so I have website clients now, and I think I'll always help people, but it will never be anything that I do on a regular basis. I have been making steps in my life to move my career in a different direction. Hold on. There we go. To move my career in a different direction. I went through some very heartbreaking experiences with a couple of jobs that I loved, but and they were it was a type of heartbreak that made me not ever want to do anything like that ever again. And I'm so serious. Seeing people who claimed that they were there to help people then hurt the people that directly worked for them, knowingly, like knowing their actions were hurting the people that worked for them. And then having to see those people be in the community saying that they're for the community, I couldn't get with. I just couldn't. And so, I did what I had to do for the time that I had to do it for as long as I could stand it, but then also trying to be as much of an advocate for the people around me as much as possible. Because in the multiple specific instances I'm talking about, and there was more than one. So if you think you knew where I worked, you may or may not be right because it's multiple jobs that I had. In all those jobs, for some reason, I was like put over people. Like, and I was in charge of these people, and so I would be trying to advocate for them as much as possible. But, when you go against the grain, you're labeled uncooperative, hard to work with, insubordinate. But what's interesting is that in all those cases, I still have people that text me unprompted from those multiple companies, and they have said things like, okay, so verbatim, one person from one of the companies I'm talking about, they verbatim said, well, they said we, so I knew it was, they were speaking on behalf of themselves and some other people that were still there. They said, we didn't realize how much you were protecting us from. And you should not have employees that are saying those type of things, right? But and my position has not been filled, so it is what it is. I'm never going to be okay with people being mistreated. And so having to live through those experiences at those companies, which, the lighting's really weird right here, so my apologies. But, having to live through those experiences through three different positions, different companies, just made me, really, I lost the faith. I lost the faith in those type of organizations. And it also sucks that they were religious-based organizations. So I'll never do that again. I'll never work for a religious organization again because I can't do it. But So between that and trying to figure out what my next move was, of course, I went back to my skills and abilities, and they have been keeping me afloat for a bit. I'm not discrediting, what my husband is bringing in, but in this day and age, you almost have to be a two income household. And so I'm at a point now where um, I think I'm finally getting a footing on what I want to do next. And I could talk about it, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait. I'm just going to wait. But this is the first time in legit like 7 years that I have been excited about like a career move. You know what I'm saying? My entrepreneur side, what I did for my business, um, I had like a dream for it to be full time, but it was kind of like that was a unrealistic dream. Like, oh, this will never happen. This would be nice if it happened, but I don't think it would ever happen. It was kind of one of those things. So I've always worked a day job as well. Um, but I think for me, I'm not saying it's not possible because for some people it is, but I don't think it is for me. I think it's meant for me to have my career. Now that it's very clear what my career is going to be, and I know this is kind of like vague, but I don't want to speak out loud about it right now. But I have the direction for my career, which then will allow me to want to help people just out of wanting to help people and not. I want to help people, but I also need to get paid because I need money because my kids need to eat because we have bills to pay. Hopefully that makes sense. That's what I want to get back to. I want to get back to me helping people, not being tied to necessary income. Because the positions that I had before, I was helping people, which that is my bread and butter. I love helping people. But it was tied to getting income, which conflicted me because of the things that I was seeing and I was experiencing. When I, as an entrepreneur, when I was helping people, but again, it was tied to I need to make this income so that I can live, my kids can live, my kids can have a roof over their house, and our water doesn't get cut off, our electricity doesn't get, you know what I mean? Like paying bills is necessary, right? Food and water is necessary. So again, the entrepreneur was tied to survival. And so that's why I'll never be an entrepreneur again, like a full-time entrepreneur again. And it'll just be me helping people when it comes up. So like right now I have, let me see, one, two, three, four. Well, I'm offloading one website client this week. So her project is done. I have 3 website clients, not quite done yet. One is almost done. The other 2, not so much, because they're newer. I have one videography client that has some events like every other month for the rest of the year. And I have I have 2 potential website clients on standby. So I did tell them, I was like, you need to let me offload some before I bring you on, because designing websites take a long time. So, it's like I will, and these are from people, word of mouth. I did start a workshop. I'm starting my workshops back up. And so I have a workshop next week for product-based business owners, a website workshop for product-based business owners the week after that. So that's the 14th, I believe. The week after that, which I think is the 21st, I have one for service-based businesses. I'm going to see how these go. I did design posts. I posted it. I have a couple people signed up already, but we'll see how it goes. If I get a lot of people that sign up, that'd be great. I believe I do have information to share. I'm just trying to figure out the way that I share it and what's going to be most beneficial for me and for everybody else. That's why I like Substack, because I can put the information there and then direct people there and say, hey, go here and this is where you can find it. I had a lot of videos on YouTube. It became cluttered because my YouTube I use for two different things. Like just I have some like nail stuff up here. I have some like unit wig stuff up here. I have just some like vlogs up here because those are right. I like to practice my videography skills. And so that's what I'm using those things for. But then also I needed somewhere to host like the workshops and stuff for like videography and how to choose a camera, how to choose a microphone, how to choose lights, how to get your SEO correct. So it's like it's mixed and it's not conducive really to what I want. So as I'm slowly but surely moving everything over to Substack, and then here it's just going to be, when I feel like picking up a camera or doing some beauty stuff or whatever, I'm doing it to practice my skills and to try things out, even though the lighting right now looks bonkers. But I want to keep it fun and I want to keep it light and I want to detach it from the need to make income because that's what was making it not fun. And for me, because I can have fun even if I'm having a crappy day if I believe in what I'm doing, if I have the passion for what I'm doing. And it was relying on my skills to make income was sucking the joy out of it, sucking the passion out of it. I didn't pick up a camera for like 2 years, maybe 3. And I love videography because I just didn't have it. And then actually the client that I have now for this year, sorry, my lip is peeling. They came to me late last year and asked me if I would be willing to do that for them. And I was like, sure. I remember the first time, their first one, which was in February, maybe. No, that doesn't make sense. Maybe January? One of the two. And even though there was a bunch of things that went wrong, it was just the first one. We all had to work out the kinks because there were singers, there was a live band, there was an audio engineer, there were other camera operators, there was me. I was doing camera work, but then I was also editing and just, then the rental of the location. It was the first one we all had to get on the same page. It was good, but there were just still things to improve. But even with that, I was reminded, I was like, oh, that's right. I love doing this. I do. All right. So last thing I have to do was hang up his hoodies. So that reinvigorated my love for videography. And that was such a pivotal thing because that reminder of how much I loved videography led to the future things that I have coming up. And I'm just really grateful for that. And I'm grateful to be in a space where things are not perfect yet. We are still in recovery. Because my financial situation definitely changed with, not being at those jobs anymore. But it was actually one of the jobs, my husband was just like, he told me that he could physically see me not doing well. And it was just the stress. It was the stress of living. I pretty much was living. But being in a space where that was not only super toxic, but I was having to sacrifice my own beliefs and morals and then work underneath a regime, essentially, that did not care about its people. I was losing weight. I was not okay physically. So, even though our financial situation has changed, I think both my husband and I would agree that it's better that I'm alive. It's better that I'm alive than making the money that I was. And so I'm grateful for that. And those are the things that I remember when I realized we had to shift a bit. And it really hasn't been that long. Sometimes when you're in a rut, when you're in the valley a day can seem like 3 months, right? It's like this is the longest time ever, but it really hasn't been that long. And things are looking up, and they are going to continue to get better because I'm doing things now that I believe in. And just the money really is not worth my health. It's my physical health, my mental health, my emotional health. Um, I also made a lot of changes in my personal life as well. And I had to um, really look at how some things, people, some people, some relationships were not serving me very well. Even though I would beg and plead and um, just totally negate what I needed, um, sacrifice my literal goals and dreams and even health to make other people's dreams come true. Like, because I was just trying to get them to love me and like show me they love me, show me they support me. Because in my head, I'm like, well, if I support them, then they'll support me. That never happened. And that's such an unhealthy way of thinking. Such an unhealthy way of thinking. And it took me years to get to this point where I was able to just be like, I've had enough and walk away. That has been a process. It has sucked. Not, I don't regret the decision of walking away. It's just like, actually, I saw on social media, and this is this analogy, and I've been using it pretty much because it explains it. It's like the grief of having to walk away. That's what I'm processing, because sometimes I have these thoughts of like, if you would have just listened or saw or something, like it didn't have to be this way. And it took me years. So I remember the first time I had the thought of walking away, it was about 5.5 years ago, because it was before I had my youngest son. And so it took me about 5.5, 6 years to walk away. And that's how I know that I was done. This wasn't a spur of the moment. It might have felt like a spur of the moment thing to them. But if they would one day, and I know this is probably never going to happen, but if they would one day actually sit and think and look at because I even had to do this, because I was like, was it spur of the moment? And I was like, no, there were little things that I was changing along the way. And if they would just take a moment to look back and be honest with themselves, which again, we know this is not going to happen, they would see that there were signs. There were signs. But it's the grief. It's the grief of not, of the possibility of having that relationship. It's like I'm grieving that possibility. Like there's no more possibility. And so, because I was talking to my best friend, I was like, I don't regret the decision of walking away. It just didn't have to happen like this. And that's the part that sucks. But, I know it's for the best. It has been hard dealing with the feelings of realizing that it will never be what I would like it to be. And like, this sounds really corny, but like, I'll never get the relationships that I see in the movies and on social media, even though I know movies, social media are not real, but it's like, it's still, but I refuse to kill myself, literally, like mentally and emotionally and spiritually, above all else. Then of course my physical health was declining because I was under so much stress, but I refuse to continue hurting myself to try to get other people to see me as I am, respect me, and just do the bare minimum. Just do the bare minimum. Like, if you love me, you should show and or say it. Like just basic stuff like that. And yeah, so that's been a process, but I don't regret it. I don't regret the decision and the freedom. I was telling my best friend about a month ago, I was like, I'm so sad that I had to make that decision and then follow through on making that decision. but I feel a type of freedom and relief that I have never felt before. And that also sucks because it's like, what if I would have made the decision before now? Maybe I could have been feeling this a long time ago and be in a different space now. But um, yeah, it's mind blowing, the relief that I feel. I didn't realize how much of a weight I was carrying. I knew I was carrying a weight, but I didn't realize how much of a weight I was carrying, how much of other people's responsibilities I was carrying, how much of other people's emotional immatureness I was carrying and dealing with and fixing and carrying burdens and consequences that were not mine to carry, until I made that decision to walk away and actually walked away and then felt that relief. Like, I feel like I'm about to cry now, but I'm not going to, because I've already cried on the internet once. I cried on my TikTok channel, on my TikTok account, but it literally felt like a weight. And I was like, oh. Mm-hmm. So my anxiety it's been up and down lately, because I know it's just me processing things, but when it's good, it's better than it ever has been. And I think it's because I was carrying things that were giving me anxiety that I was never supposed to carry in the first place. Um, I still, I do have depression and those symptoms, but I am on a regimen now, being able to deal with that much better. That's the other thing too. Ever since walking away and thus effectively putting down burdens that were not my own, I now have more time to heal myself. My kids have always been a priority. Like, you can ask anybody. You can ask my friends. You can ask my husband. It doesn't matter what mental or emotional state I was in. My kids always. I took care of my kids. Point blank, period. And, no ifs, ands, or buts. But I never had a chance or space to take care of myself. And now that I'm not worried about fixing other people's mess ups, carrying things that are not mine, I'm having the space to take care of me. That also has been an adjustment. So, but through that, to close the loop about how this relates to entrepreneurship, because all 12 years of me being an official entrepreneur, I was using it as an escape, and as validation because of the things that I was going through. Um, I don't need it to be that anymore, but I don't know how to be an entrepreneur without that attachment. Does that make sense? Because that attachment was one of the reasons behind me starting officially the business. I was starting it in hopes to get the approval, the claps, the support, the recognition, just the sight, to not be invisible anymore. Um, and I don't need it. And I don't know how to be an entrepreneur without having those attachment feelings. So maybe in the future, if it's in God's plan for me, that I will heal enough to where I can be an entrepreneur and not have those feelings, and so be it. But right now, it is not in the books. It's not. So definitely still going to help people. I'll help the people as things come up. Like I said, right now, it is still helping me and my husband carry us through financially. So, hey, if you want to support, I'll put the Substack link in the description. But, I know it's just a matter of time until these things that I mentioned earlier start. They have a later start date. And I'm most excited about being able to build a community, because that's also something I didn't have. We moved around a lot when we were younger, so I didn't really have a community at all. Not only were we not stable in the neighborhoods that we lived in, like we were only there for like a year and a half, 2 years for a good part of my younger childhood, but then we also were not close to family, right? Um, I joked with some of my aunts, except it wasn't really a joke, but I was like, my dad was super sick some years ago and couldn't travel because it was always us traveling to see everybody. And so they would come down. They came down multiple times a year for the few years that he was sick. And I joked with them. I was like, "This is the most that I've seen y'all my entire life." And at that point, I was like 30, early 30s, mid 30s. I don't know how. I keep forgetting how old I am now. So I was like early 30s, mid 30s, and I'm like, "This is the most I've ever seen y'all in like a 12-month span." And I said it. I said it, and everybody kind of like that uneasy chuckle that people do, because it wasn't a lie. It wasn't a lie at all. But anyway, I digress. But yeah, didn't have a community. Wasn't around family. Really struggled with that at college. Ended up leaving college early. Came back. Still struggled with it. Um, but I'm at a point now where I am trying to, or I have the desire to build that community. And I know things happen organically, and it's just about getting out there and being in the spaces that contain people that I want to be in community with. Because I mean, we don't have family here, pretty much. Um, we got a couple of blood relatives, but it's we live far, quote unquote, and I'm saying quote unquote because it's not far to me, but everybody else tells me we live too far. So um my kids are very adaptable. They have great friend groups at their daycare for my youngest and school for my oldest. So much so that there was, like, even my toddler, there was a couple of kids who had birthday parties that only invited like two kids from the daycare. My kid was one of them, so they are really good at making friends. They don't seem to miss having family around because they don't know what that's like because they've never had it. Um, but I want to build that community not only for myself, not only for my husband because he doesn't have family here either, but my children as well, right? Like we have this house now that has space. I would love to host things here and have cookouts and have people just come over and kick it and things like that. And we have people in our life. Please don't get me wrong. If those people, if you know who you are, if you're watching this, I'm not talking about you. But I still want to build a community for myself. And then I know that my kids will get that positive reverberation from that. Especially because they are both in very, very important stages of their life this year. But anyway, that this is long. I needed to get this out, so I'm getting this out. I'm gonna post it. I'm not really gonna edit any of this. I know the lighting was wonky early. I don't think I care. I just need to get this out. I don't know if this will resonate with anybody. But when I struggle, during the times that I struggle, and because I don't have like the community that I desire, I do go to YouTube, to TikTok, and end up finding people that are going through things similar to what I'm going through. And it helps. It helps to know that you aren't alone because sometimes you really, really feel alone. Really, really feel alone. And so I just wanted to put this out there and hopefully, I know this is going to be a very long video, but hopefully this will help somebody else like the way other people have helped me. And it does. It all is a part of why I don't want to be an entrepreneur anymore. And I can't wait until I can record the video because I believe in showing both sides, the not so great side and the great side. I can't wait till I can record the video talking about my future goals, because I'm waiting for some announcements, and I don't want to get ahead of myself. So it's still, things still suck right now because I'm still processing. We're still recuperating. Getting back on track, but it feels positive. I know it's gonna get better because I know, right? Like, I see the better. It's just getting to the better. And I'm excited that this is going to be a very important year for me. I'm almost 40. I'll be 40 in a couple of years. And I remember thinking on my 30th birthday, I was like, something has got to change. Ooh, I don't want to cry again. I was like, man, something's got to change. And it has taken some time, but things are changing. And I'm really excited. So I'm going to cut this off before a tear falls. But just know that if you are stuck, it's going to get better. It sounds cliche, but just hang in there. I promise it's going to get better. I'm crying on the internet again. Oh my gosh.